Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the newest episode of Krunch Time with Kruk. Once again, joined at the booth with Mad Max. Max, how you doing?
What up, man? How you doing?
God, it's fun having you on the show, Dash. I love having you. So much fun, so much energy. Also joined with none other than Avila's very own Brandon Wartman, one of the starting tackles for the Avila Athletics football team, Avila University football team. Really used to being on the broadcast for the school. We got a fun slate today. We have NFL, college football, NBA, and then MLB. So without much more ado, we're going to jump right into it. Last night's game, the Broncos and the Browns played. The Browns were missing so many different players, but they still walked away with a win via a field goal, 17-14. Max, tackle that one. What are the key takeaways from that game?
Yeah, I think, like you said, there was a lot of injuries, right, overall. And I thought the Browns might actually keep it close. Yeah. I thought they were out the whole game. And I didn't expect Case Keenum to come in and do his job like he is. But he did a good job. I thought overall the Browns came in there, and the running game is the key for the Browns. We all know that when they run the football, that's their MO. I think they did a good job, especially not having Nick Chubb in the game. Yeah. What was it, Dearness Johnson? He ran for 146 yards. That's like, the third or fourth string running back coming in, doing the job. So to me, that's a big job for the Browns and the organization to keep that up overall. And I think that's important. Their defense did well too, Kruk. Only held the Broncos to 14 points. Telling Teddy Bridgewater, not a lot of things. Overall, not letting him run around the pocket. That's usually like what he likes to do. So Browns did a good job, 4-3. See what happens next game.
Absolutely. Wartman, special guest on the show. We heard that you are a Packers fan.
I am.
We're sorry about that. But would you like to tackle the game, Packers versus the Washington football team?
I think it's going to be a good game. Washington's really built up their defense for these last couple of years, having a young defensive end, Chase Young, come in. That guy's a game wrecker. He's going to be a good guy for years to come. But with Green Bay being down, a couple of their offensive linemen, David Bakhtiari's been out for the last couple of weeks. I think he's going to have a game, but I think overall the Packers' offensive attack is going to be able to overtake Washington's good defense. And I think the Packers' defense is going to be able to hold their own against Washington's new offense.
Absolutely. Looking at one of the games I picked out for this week, Chiefs versus Titans.
Yes.
The Chiefs, not as hot of a start as they wanted to be off to. Everybody was talking, Brady beat them. Brady more or less spanked them in the Super Bowl. This is going to be a revenge tour for them. Well, the revenge tour didn't start off so hot. Let's see if they can turn it around. The Titans, on the other hand, Derrick Henry,
going off like
every year. The guy's amazing. Mm-hmm. And he gives credit to the O-line because he knows without the O-line, he wouldn't be the Derrick Henry. So, as an O-liner myself and as an O-lineman for you too, Wartman, that's really cool to give the recognition of people who deserve it. But he definitely is a game-changing player. Looking at that game, I think it's going to be closer than people expect. I could see it being a 24-28 game. Honestly, I see it being pretty close like that. What do you see, Ward?
Honestly, I see it being a very close game. Like you said, the Chiefs, their high-powered offense has really been lacking this year. You just looking at last week versus the Washington football team, they had 3 turnovers in the first half. Yeah. Granted, they were avoidable, but you still can't overlook that. These are sloppy mistakes that are being made against a defense that you're not going to be able to make these mistakes against. And with the Chiefs' defense, they're always in that middle tier defense. They're nothing to be talked down on, but at the same time, when you have an offense that is so high powered with Derrick Henry, it's going to make you question: is this going to be the game where the Chiefs can really snap out of it? And while I think the Chiefs have the opportunity to pull it out, I don't think they're going to be able to pull through.
Yeah, I actually think the Chiefs will pull through, and I think they'll pull through because I think the offense is going to have to make some plays. And I have to tell you this right now, the Chiefs' defense is, to me, mediocre at best. And like we mentioned before, they're not at the level, and that's why their offense has to carry a lot for their defense, because they're not obviously to the level that they are. And I think with the Titans overall, they're a gritty team. I think they're a gritty team. That Monday Night Football game against the Bills, they should have lost that game almost, but a big 4th down stop. And I'll tell this to Kruk, I've been on the Bills this whole season. I really have. I really like what Josh Allen is and how this team overall is going. And beating a team like that, to me, is a step up in the right direction. So I say, like we mentioned, a close game. But keep an eye. I think the Chiefs will win this game, to me. Like a 31-27 kind of game.
Okay.
Another game that we're going to talk about coming off of, that run-heavy team, the Titans. We're going to talk about 2 teams that are normally run-heavy, but this week probably won't be. The Panthers and the Giants. The Panthers have Christian McCaffrey. The Giants have Saquon Barkley. 2 players that are game-changing athletes when they're in the game, but they seem to get hurt almost every year because they are the only offense for their team.
That's very true.
You know, Sam Darnold just got to Carolina, started off 3-0 without McCaffrey. Now he's 0-3. You know, the Giants are 1-5. They're still not doing hot. You know, it's
New York
I don't know
teams.
what they have to do to turn it
Both
around
teams
at
are.
this point, but you know, Wartman, break down the Panthers. How are they going to win this game against the Giants without McCaffrey?
They're really going to have to focus on spreading the ball around to their other playmakers, and where it's really going to come down to is their offensive line. For both of these teams, even for the Giants, both of these teams historically have not had the greatest offensive linemen, and they have overlooked that position in multiple drafts now. They have not addressed it in free agency. So it's really going to come down to whichever defense is going to be able to stop these offenses. Since both these running backs are out, they're going to have to rely on the passing game. So it's going to come down to whichever team is going to have the best defensive secondary to come up.
And then, Max, the Giants, how are you going to neutralize the Panthers' offense and hopefully jumpstart your own?
Yeah, I mean, well, with the Giants, it's a different breed, right? They have Daniel Jones, and still believe Daniel Jones to me is just he's okay quarterback, right? He makes plays. He's not overall this way. That's why they always lean on Saquon Barkley. That's why he's a playmaker and has big calves and big muscles overall to help for his team. But I think the Giants, what the problem is that they're not very consistent. It's like the Jets. It's like both New York teams, they're just not overall there. And it's sad for a market like New York to not have teams like that for the past 5 or 6 years overall. So to me, overall, I think the Giants, they got to do is just like what you mentioned with the Panthers. They got to get it to their main playmakers. I think if they get it to their main playmakers and help the team out overall, it's going to be good for them. And I still expect the Panthers to win this game, but I still think that the Giants, if Daniel Jones can be consistent, just like Mahomes right now, he's not very consistent with the football, which is a key that we mentioned before. I think they might have a shot to win. So
I think it might be a little too soon in the podcast to make a hot take calling Daniel Jones Mahomes, but we'll let it slide.
I'm not okay. What I'll mention here is I'm not mentioning that he is like Mahomes. I'm just saying right now Mahomes is not very efficient. That's what I'm getting at. And right now Daniel Jones overall is still not very efficient too. So right now at the same point of time, even though definitely Mahomes is better than Jones, that's what I'm kind of getting at that point. So
I just wanted to hear you say.
Just want to clarify that.
Looking at another game, it shouldn't be a close game, but it will be a mental game. The Lions will be at the Rams this weekend.
That's going to be a good
Goff used to be with the Rams. Stafford used to be with the Lions. Looking at that game, do you think that that's going to play a mental role on either Stafford or Goff?
I think the role is going to be more towards this mental toll is going to be more on Jared Goff. This is the team that traded him away. They did not want him anymore, and so far the Lions are off to an abysmal start, being at 0-6 in the last in the division. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on his shoulders. If he can pull it out, this might be able to change the Lions season around. But I see this as going to be probably one of the final nails in the coffin for this Lions season. Because if they can't beat the team that just traded their quarterback away for this one, it's going to be hard to come back from this, especially with a team that's already having such a hard time finding leadership, trying to find these playmakers. It's not a recipe for success.
And then, Max, for you, another game that starts right around the same time, the Bears and the Bucks. Wearing my Bears jersey, Akeem Hicks. Got to represent, you know. I wore this to the Super Bowl parade 2 years ago in Kansas City because I am not a
You
bandwagon.
wore that to the Super Bowl parade?
He did.
I wore it
He
to
wore
the
that
Super
to the
Bowl
Super Bowl
parade.
Yes, he did.
Not a bandwagon. On the record. Max, for you. Bucks, Bears. Looking at this one, you know, the Bears don't have the best defense in the world, but they don't have the worst. Last time the Bucks and the Bears played, you know, Brady ended up taking an L to Nick Foles. I'm not saying the Bears are going to win this week, but do you think it's going to be a close game?
I mean, it could start close, right? I think it really depends on how Justin Fields plays, right? Still being a young quarterback and how Tampa Bay is going to do their defense overall against them. I think players like Devin White, the corners that they have overall, I think they're going to be a big key for possibly the Bucks. And I still think the Bucks will win by 2 scores. I think with Brady overall, it's too powerful. And the Bears have a pretty good defense. They've still had overall in the past couple of years, but I think Brady and how he knows the game and all the weapons they have in Tampa Bay, that's still. I mean, the problem is, can Justin Fields not make mistakes? And can Tampa Bay just keep running? Especially running the football is the key for Tampa Bay, especially because they pass a lot. And can Leonard Fournette and Vaughn and all those running backs make plays? But I still think the Bucks winning by 2 scores, Kruk. So sorry about your Bears.
Not offended by it, you know. As long as they lose on my numbers and I make money off of it, I'll be happy. Sunday Night Football is the Indianapolis Colts, who are 2-4, taking on the San Francisco 49ers, who are 2-3. Just as recently as 2 minutes ago, Jimmy Garoppolo has been removed from the injury report, and he will be able to play, or start for the 49ers. Would you rather see Trey Lance or Garoppolo start for the 49ers against an Indianapolis Colts team who last year had a top 5 defense, this year not so hot on their defense?
This year I'd rather see Trey Lance go. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's been there for, 4 years now? Just around there. Mm-hmm. And he really hasn't done much for him. He took him to one Super Bowl. He had a great season there, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. So is it really that time to transition to this new young quarterback that you took in the first round? He has been playing bad, and now, like you just said, with his Colts defense taking it down a couple of notches, maybe this is a game to really have him stand out and take that mantle as a leader.
Yeah, I think it's just like the Bears, right, Kruk, with going with Fields in this way. I think overall it's the same thing with 49ers. I think basically I think the 49ers, what they need to start fresh, especially with Kyle Shanahan as the coach, right? They know that he is going to be calling a lot of different calls for that offense. And he's going to call different things, and he wants to do different kind of gadget plays for the offense because, San Francisco, we're in California, Sunshine State. But I think Trey Lance probably is the better fit because I think overall, if you don't remember him, he came from North Dakota State. A lot of people don't remember that. It's a small school. Mm-hmm. A lot of people watched his tape. But I think overall, he can throw the football really well. He threw the football very well in college, and he runs the ball too very well as well. So I think having that dual threat for the 49ers, maybe that helps him out in that division, right? With the Cardinals, the Rams, both two hot teams right now in that division. So I still think 49ers should start Trey Lance possibly in this game.
And moving down the list, we're going to move to college football. This week, not a whole lot of very interesting games going on. Looking at the schedule, there should be a decent amount of blowouts. What are a couple games that you think are going to be close, Max?
Looking at it this week, first I'm just going to represent quickly the top 10 real quick. Georgia is number 1, Cincinnati number 2, Oklahoma number 3, Alabama 4, Ohio State 5, 6, Michigan, 7, Penn State, 8, Oklahoma State, and then 9, Michigan State, and 10, Oregon. So I might have said that a little too quick, but there you go. That's the top 10 for this week. Looking at it, I think possibly look at UCLA and Oregon. I think that could be possibly a good game to watch, especially with UCLA and how Chip Kelly has led that whole program, Kruk. I think really UCLA is a team, after looking at Zach Charbonnet, running back, Michigan transfer, very good running back, makes a lot of plays, up the tackles. And Oregon right now, I haven't seen the flashiness of Oregon since they beat my team, Ohio State, Kruk, be honest with you. I haven't seen that from Oregon the past couple of weeks. And right now, they need to show something to get them back up into possibly the race, especially for the Pac-12, knowing that they're probably only have Oregon as their only shot. So I think possibly that could be a close game overall. Keep an eye on for Iowa State over Oklahoma State. I think Iowa State could actually upset Oklahoma State. A lot of people think that Oklahoma State is there and they're good, but I think right now Oklahoma State, problem is Spencer Sanders is not consistent. I don't see him being a very consistent kind of quarterback, and I see at Iowa State should be a good win. So, what about you, Kruk? What are we looking at?
One of the games I'm looking at, I have not been a Clemson Tigers fan, all year. I've been very vocal about it too. I'm not even going to hide it. Their golden ticket was Trevor Lawrence, and they're trying to find a new one right now. I think they could squeeze out a win versus number 23 Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, they're good enough to be ranked, but let's be honest, if you're below 15 spot on the national rankings, you're not a heavy favorite to win every game. So at 23, you're good enough to get ranked, so definitely take that into consideration. But Clemson knows how to play big games. They lost, a decent amount of good players who took them all the way, or at least tried to, but they still have players who know how to battle. I could see them winning this game, and I could see them winning it close, though, probably 2 scores at most. Wartman, what's a game you want to really talk about?
I'm going to go with the sleeper here. I'm going to say number 2, Cincinnati versus Navy. As we all know, Navy's a triple option team. These teams are going to run the football, and they're going to keep the ball on their side of the field, and they're going to run those time downs. So when a team like Navy comes in, Navy has a history of upsetting these teams by running the ball and by scoring. And if you cannot stop this, if you are not disciplined enough to stop this triple option defense, your defense is going to have a very long day. So it's really going to come down to, can Cincinnati stay disciplined and beat this team. Because if not, if Cincinnati loses to a 1-5 Navy team, it's going to shoot their chances at a national championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be possibly a struggle, but I think Cincinnati will pull away overall. I think they're talented enough, and this year it looks like they're more talented than ever. I'm just going to shout out one team real quick. I don't know if you got UTSA.
I just saw them.
Yeah,
number 24.
Yeah, number 24. The first time in program history that they made it into AP poll. Think about that for a second. That's very cool for that program. Obviously, I've seen overall they've kind of just been down, struggling. But under head coach Jeff Traylor, that's a coach who's probably, who in the heck is Jeff Traylor? Apparently he was a former associate head coach and running backs coach in Arkansas the past couple of years. So that was very cool. So he looks like an offensive-minded coach. And this school, you never know. Those kind of small schools, especially for a group of 5 competition, that's probably really cool to see. So shout out to UTSA and Texas San Antonio if you guys want to have any fun facts.
So before we go to break, just so I can make sure I heard it clear so far, Daniel Jones is the same as Patrick Mahomes, and 1-5 Navy midshipmen are going to beat number 2 Cincinnati Bearcats.
I have no idea if they're going to actually beat them, but I'm saying that game is probably going to be closer than a lot of people think.
You know what, Kruk? I like that you're very optimistic today. You know what I mean? You're in a different mood than you usually are. So, getting back to it, I kind of mentioned, why did we not talk about the Bengals and the Ravens game we had at NFL? That was a big game I thought you would talk about. Now I'm just going to talk about that for a little bit because, you skip through smaller games. But quickly, I think this is going to be a good game real quick, the Bengals and the Ravens, because both two teams right now in the AFC North that are possibly there. The Bengals, everyone thought, they're down and out. No one believes in them, right? I think this will be a closer game than people expect. I see it being, obviously, you've got to stop Lamar Jackson, right? You got to stop Lamar Jackson, Latavius Murray, all those running backs. But I think possibly if you look at this, there are two styles. Running game for Baltimore and the passing game in Cincinnati. It's going to depend on whose defense is going to step up. And I think it's hard for me to say it, but I still see Baltimore winning it. But it'll be closer than people expect, so keep an eye on that. Just wanted to mention that, Kruk, because I know you skipped through that in the NFL topics.
We're running a little short on time. We got 2 more topics, so we're going to step aside. We're going to take a real quick break, and we'll be right back after this. And welcome back to Krunch Time with Kruk. I was going to wait for Max to be quiet, but we don't have enough studio time to do that. So, Max, since you felt extra talkative, why don't you go ahead and lead off NBA? What are some of the teams you've been watching so far this year?
Yes, Kruk, I am very extra talkative today. So, anyways, though, looking at the NBA, right, we have all the teams usual. I'm just going to mention we got the Lakers, Nets, Bucks, Suns, all those teams that are still there. I mean, looking at it, obviously it's early in the year, so we can't really say what we believe in so far, being opening night. But obviously the Lakers lost their first game. Obviously, first game, they'll get over it, Obviously LeBron, AD, and Westbrook's going to be interesting to watch for the Lakers, right?
Yes.
I think you boys would agree with me. That's going to be a 3-headed monster to watch, obviously, for the Lakers. For the Nets, too, obviously we don't know about Kyrie Irving and his whole situation going on with him. But Kevin Durant, James Harden, still 2 of the top players in the league. Obviously the Milwaukee Bucks. They won it last year. They're a great team with Giannis, and obviously, can they keep it up this year? We'll have to see. And then finally, I'll mention with the Suns, right? Team that's, I think a lot of people shouldn't sleep on again this year. With Paul, Aiden, and that whole staff. I think, obviously, Monty Williams, too. I think one of the great coaches I thought last year. I think he's going to have to be a big part for the Suns. So I'm just telling you what I believe in, but what do you guys think? What teams are we looking at this far for the NBA season?
I'm going to take a hot take out real quick. Wartman already did the hot take with Navy beating Cincinnati. You did the hot take. Daniel Jones is Patrick Mahomes in disguise. My hot take, the Utah Jazz are a regular season team. All right? Okay. They can make the playoffs for the next 5 years, but they will not win a finals. They are a regular season team. You can hold me to it. Burn me at the stake if I'm wrong. They are not good when it comes to postseason. The last time they were good in the postseason, they had a mailman, Karl Malone, down in the post bullying Dennis Rodman. They are not going to be good in the postseason. Another team that I'm going to go out and say isn't good in the postseason, the Nuggets. Really? All right? You can't run your offense through a center in today's day and age. Today's day and age, you got people like Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, Klay Thompson, some absolute stupid range shooters who are out here pulling up from the parking lot in a different zip code. You can't have a guy who is, 7'3", run the ball for you. Yeah, I get it. They have Jamal Murray. He's not good enough to take over a game and compete with guys like Steph Curry. to compete with guys like Damian Lillard. Okay, maybe he can compete with like a John Morant. Maybe he could compete with a Ben Simmons if Ben Simmons was actually still playing. But he's not the guy. Nikola Jokic is the guy for the Nuggets, and he's not a good enough guy to compete with these other guys. I said guy a lot there, but I feel like everybody picked up on what guy I was mentioning.
Yeah.
So
I feel like your point on the Utah Jazz is more of a warm take. I don't see the Utah Jazz doing
problem with
anything.
that, actually.
I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I don't see them having a whole lot of success in the postseason at all, especially this year. But going back to running the offense through the center, I disagree with you on that. Centers these days are more athletic than they were back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
You have people like Nikola Jokic who can shoot the three ball. He's a center that can space the floor. He's the MVP. I mean, like this guy, he has star caliber status.
Absolutely.
So to say that you can't run the game through an MVP, I just don't agree with that. He is the top guy on that team, but he has other playmakers around him where he can just get the job done. If he can't do it, he can pass the ball out. So just to say that this team won't accomplish much because they have run through a center, I just flat out disagree with that one.
Yeah, quickly before we move on, I think another team that we should keep our eyes on. I really like this team from last year, the New York Knicks. And I say the New York Knicks because I like how the Knicks overall were last year. They kept it competitive. You obviously got that fan base.